Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our webinar this afternoon, which is all about driving performance outcomes. My name is Colin Wilson, and I'm about to start this webinar with a co-host of Scott Kelly, who's about to join me. Hello, Scott. How are you?
Great, Colin. Yourself?
Yeah, very good.
That's
So
good.
let's get into this webinar. So this webinar is all about, driving performance outcomes. It's about getting ready to embark on the journey and knowledge of an empowerment. What's really important is the new year is kicked off, and we want to make sure that we're supporting many businesses out there in relation to helping them grow in 2024. All right, so the webinar is being recorded, just for everyone to know. For those who are registered for the webinar, I think we've got about roughly 25 people that have registered. If they don't attend the webinar, they'll get a copy of the recording. If they if you want to see a copy of the webinar, it'll be on our website up within 48 hours, which is important. Okay, so what we're going to talk about today is how to lead and implement an effective strategic plan. So a lot of people think, well, okay, what is a strategic plan? Right. Well, it's strategy, a pathway to follow that holds you accountable to you and the leaders within your business. It's also about understanding the key profit drivers. We're going to talk about the key profit drivers of your business and better ways to communicate your goals and objectives to your team. Scott and I do a lot of strategic planning together, and what we do is we help businesses get to that next level, and that's how we say we take it from good to great, and we'll go through some of the methodology of how that works. So we're really going to share our knowledge with you today in what just really helps a business to go to that next level. For those who don't know me, my name is Colin Wilson. I am the director of the business of Key Business Advisors. I love what I do. We've been doing it for 15 years. In actual fact, on the 2nd of February, it'll be 16 years that we've been operating from. So yeah, just love what I do, and very passionate about helping businesses to get to that next level. If I ask you, Scott, tell us a bit about yourself.
Yeah, look, Colin, similar to you, love being involved in business. Most of the last 25 years, I've owned and managed my own companies that operated about 13 different businesses. And now I've got to the stage that I've sold those businesses, and now just use my expertise to try and work with other businesses on what I suppose used through my journey to gain a lot of success and impart that onto the fellow business owners.
Yeah, and I think, look, we've known each other for a long time. We've looked after you throughout those businesses, and I'm just absolutely rapt that you've come and joined our team and helping us set up in Queensland. So for those who don't know, I'm located in Essendon today. Scotty's up in the Sunshine Coast, and that's part of growth, part of expansion, which I think is really, really good. Okay, so I want to take you to what I think is one of the most important things of every business, and that is what's your mission? So our mission at KBA is taking your business from good to great. So what does good to great look like? And that word good to great comes from the book Jim Collins, about getting the right people on the bus, if you want to call it that, and then helping them, taking them on a journey where you're developing and growing your team to help get your business to the next level. And as it says there, our purpose is to take our customers on a journey to help them improve their business through all the aspects of employee engagement and performance. We know if there's great engagement of a team and people are focused on the performance outcomes of the business, results happen. We just know it, and that's what we do as a business. There are 4 key pillars to our business that make that strategy happen. So the business strategy and growth, and that's what our webinar is about today, building that people and culture within your business. And when you've got a strat plan, we know that that builds great culture within a business. We're an outsourced HR advice and support business. So we have a team of there's 6 people that go out and support and engage with our clients and help them from a HR perspective. And we do a lot of leadership and management and sales training. So they're the key pillars of our business. All right, to get started, what I'm going to talk about is this. Think about why you do what you currently do. So why do you get up in the morning and go to work, if that makes sense? So your why is all about understanding the purpose of why you do what you do. And I think that's really important to try and drive that through, your company. So why do you do this as a company? Why do you do this for yourself? And then why do you do this for your customers? And if you can actually blend the 3 of them together, like what is your why? This is about your value proposition, having your team on the same page to deliver great outcomes. So, there's this famous book called Start With Why, which was from Simon Sinek. Everyone knows who Simon Sinek is, and Scott, you use this analogy in your business all the time. So maybe you can share with us, please.
Oh, definitely. Look, it's for me in any size business, it's just so important. What's the initial passion or objective that gets you out of bed every day, and that's the why. But then for the whole team to understand, the what, why, how, and the communication and clarity on that ongoing is just such an important part, because often as owners and leaders in the business, we've got an idea of the vision that we're trying to achieve, but sometimes we lose sight and don't really communicate that through all levels of the business. But truly successful businesses, everyone knows the pathway, what the business is trying to achieve, and in the simplest way, what is the what, why, and how that we're going to get there.
Yeah, and that's the old saying, isn't it? Keep it simple, stupid, and the old KISS methodology. And if you can do that, I think that is absolutely brilliant. And look, there's no doubt, that the differences. All businesses are different, whether it be different vertical markets, different ages of the business, whether it's a startup, whether it's been going for 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, 50 years. We got a client that we look after has been going for 127 years. It's in its 5th generation. So again, when you look at that, you think, well, okay, well, but how do we keep people engaged? How do we keep things simple and then take it to that next level?
Yeah, but I think also, Colin, just on that, it's sometimes when we get so busy and things might be quite going our way in business, it's always great to go back to that guiding light, of the why, and just to bring back sometimes, okay, let's just get back to our core purpose. And then that helicopter view to go, okay, well, if we're drifting from that, what do we got to do to get back to what we're about?
Yeah, and we definitely saw that. I mean, last year, I think we're coming out of, I don't like using that word COVID, but, last year's been a pretty tough year. Inflation rises, all the things that have happened, and it created a lot of noise for many business owners and managers out there. Okay, so for the people that are on the hookup, what we'd love you to do is put some things in the chat box. If I was to ask you, what does next level look like in your company? Right now on the top of your mind, what would be a couple of things you would like to improve on right now, within your business? So, help me out here, because I love doing a webinar, trying to get, you involved a little bit. So in the chat box, what are some things that keep you awake at night, or what are some things that, you think that would, I'd like to get to that next level. So we're working with some clients at the moment on next level, and one particular client, they want to grow their sales force, grow their sales. They got through last year, they're poised for growth, they're ready to go. Another business wants to engage, do a staff engagement survey with their staff. They want to know what the staff are thinking so they can get to that next level. So feel free to chuck something in a chat box, and I'd love to share some of your thought process to the rest of the people on this webinar. So I'll give you, come on, you guys can do it. Mohammed, Trish, So can chat be enabled? Oh, isn't chat enabled? I thought I enabled it. Well, okay, let me just make that happen for everyone. So sorry guys, now I've opened it up, so go for it. Yeah, in the chat box. Sorry, I thought I did that before we started. So yeah, what's some of your thought process on what you want to do to it's a new year in making some stuff happen. So feel free to Bobby, feel free to chuck some stuff in the chat box for us. That'd be really, really good. New new national clients. Perfect, right? So, okay, so we think about that, we need to put a strategy behind that. And that just doesn't come from, we want to do this. It's a whole team effort that makes that happen. It's salespeople, it's marketing, it's making sure we go and, show our capability, more lead generation. Yeah, beautiful. So all of the above is about, well, okay, we want to grow. What you're talking about now is we want to grow and we want to get to next level. But let's have a look at it. So what we do see a lot of businesses do is they go and pick different parts of their business and go, we need to do this, we need to do that. And, what we're all about is, how do we get that whole team embraced with strategy? So, a great example is, I'll just give you one, a company LinkedIn profile, is everyone following it? Is everyone liking it and share it? Are you showcasing what you're doing? That will generate more leads through your business. And that's a process just in itself. Okay, thanks for that. Let's get into, topic one, how to lead and implement an effective strategic plan. So, what is the purpose of a strategic plan? So that's a question we ask. Why do I need to do one? Well, it gives you lots of good reasons why to do one. The purpose of a strategic plan, for me, it provides, that strategic direction where everyone is on the same page. We want to build culture within the business. We want everyone understanding this is the pathway that we want to go down. It creates an agreement with all key stakeholders. So all your leaders in the business, you're all on the same page. It provides clarity to all your staff and proof that you have direction. So I actually just delivered a strategic plan to a company last week in Adelaide, and that was one of the feedback. One of the staff members said, "I never realised that this business was so in depth, intense of what it needs to do." And I totally get the big picture of what you want us all to do in working together. It assists with strategic intent as opposed to strategic drift. So a lot of people have these great ideas. Hey, you know what? I want to go and build on, my national clients, or I want to build this part of the business. That's the intent. But then what happens? We get busy being busy and we don't stick with it. And that's where strategic drift comes in. We drift away and then try something else. One of the good things is if you've got it documented, it's all written down, you can review your strategic plan every quarter and make amendments. And, Scott and I both go out, we work with our clients, we do a strat plan, and then what we do is we check in with them every month, hold them accountable, and then we do a quarterly review. I think, you can do that yourself if you've got the capability and the depth in your business to make that happen. Identify what is needed for the company to grow, and common goals and objectives for financial reward. So how do we build more on those financials? But the big one for me, and I've talked about this coming right out of COVID, one of the things that we really focused on with our clients is build that pathway out of COVID and watch your business grow. And that has happened with many of our clients. Now we're doing the next round of strategic planning with those clients. And, there might be a few things that are on your agenda, and they are some of those things that are in these topics here. So I'm going to get Scott to go through and just talk to you a little bit about, what we outline in a strategic plan. And sometimes we tweak these and customize them a bit more for the client, depending on what their needs are. But Scott, I'll hand it over to you, mate.
Absolutely. And look, I think in terms of a strategic plan, it doesn't matter what size business you are, small, medium, large, non-for-profit, for-profit. I think it's just so important to take time to focus on your strategy moving forward, because the business environment has changed so much. We're in a world of disruption. Competitors can come at us from different angles before we even know it. You know what I mean? So it's about getting out of the busyness and really allocating time to work on your business and to get all stakeholder engagement to really build that pathway forward. And people then, they're engaged and they're linked to the way forward. And really, there's 10 areas, as you can see there on the screen, that are the key parts to the strategic plan. And then it's about, through the process that we do, Colin and I, with our clients, it's getting all the information to put the meat onto the framework that you see in front of you. So the mission, vision, purpose, and values all linked to the why that we spoke about just previously. And like anything, you need the strategy, but then you need the structure, and that's going to link to your staffing component. So the organisation strategy, where does a business want to go moving forward? What does that look like? And these days, strategic plan, it's no longer looking at sort of 5 years, in our opinion. It's more like the short and the medium term, 1 to 3 years max, but it should still be reviewed quite often. Financial sustainability, well, everyone who's in business, to keep the doors open, we need to make sure that we're financial. We've got those revenue streams coming in. We're watching the cost lines all the time to make sure that the difference in the profit is where we want it to be. Service offerings, what we've done in the past mightn't be the way forward. So it's about, again, taking that time to go, are there other market segments we might need to focus on, other products or services that we can bring in to our basket of goods to keep growing the business? People and capability, that's all about, when we work out what the strategy is, then the staffing structure to support that. And so again, what you currently may have in place, after you go through this process, you might need, okay, we need a different executive to come in to lead a different part of the way forward. Marketing initiatives, a key part for any business obviously is to work out how are we going to market our products and services? And now social media is a big part of the way forward, just to maximizing the return on investment on any marketing that you're doing. Better processes. Can we be more efficient and effective, in the business? Can we be more streamlined? Can we incorporate some new technology to make things work more seamless and productive? And that links into the next one, the ICT, information, communication, and technology. Again, there's always now fantastic new programs that are coming into the market. So it's just having that visibility to look around and see if there's other things that might be able to help you to achieve your goals. And growth strategy, merger acquisitions. Do you have a bigger plan? Are you wanting to set your business up for growth? You might be wanting to set your business up in the short, medium term to try and sell. But to do that, you want to put it in the best possible position. So again, the strategy and a business strategic planning process can really help. So when you get to that position, if you want to sell, it's beautifully packaged for someone who may come and they do their due diligence, and you get the result you're after. And compliance and risk is another really important area. Right across, we live in a different world now, that we just need to make sure that everything we do, from the way we work with our staff and customers and deal with the market, that we are crossing the T's and dotting the I's. So they're just their top line. We're going to go through in a little bit more detail, but it's just so important, all those components for a successful business, and you can't just touch on one or two of them to really gain success and go to that next level. Thanks, Colin.
Yeah, and what's really interesting, Scott, over our journey in business, we had a client once come to us to sell their business, and they were told to put all this best practice in place. And we put it all in place and didn't want to sell the business because all of a sudden it was making good money, right? So again, and they're still a client of ours today. So again, I think that is part of what that, what the process is. People ask me, what's KBA's model? I always say it's the proven model, because we know this works because we do it with so many clients. But, that mission, vision, purpose, and value, some people have it. And I get to see it on the day of our induction. But, where is it displayed in your business? Whereabouts, and if you go and look at our values, they're in our toilets, it's all over our business. It's all part of living and breathing. So, you do your mission, vision, and values. It's got to have meaning. It's got to have purpose. And it's linked to your why, as we said before. But it also sets a company standard so everyone is on the same page. It builds that team culture. It links to team meetings and one-on-one conversations. So, we run a team meeting this morning. We go around the room. Okay, who did we work with last week that we took from good to great? And we use those case studies, and that gets the energy going. It definitely supports continuous improvement, right? So, are we living and breathing what we actually set ourselves out to actually do? It definitely assists with recruitment and staff retention. We've seen multiple times, because we're an outsourced HR company, we do recruiting. People want to go and work with one of our clients because they've got solid foundations about what they do, and their Google reviews actually represent that as well. So it's a great way of actually, building your brand, as I always talk about, and getting your clients on board. It also addresses poor attitude and poor behaviour. So if you've got people in your business that are not part of the team and not following your mission and values, that's, for me, is a very easy conversation. And the big one for me is it supports client satisfaction and winning new business. So if we want to build and grow our businesses, we've really got to live, the whole company's got to live by your mission, vision, purpose, and values. You've got to back up what you say you do. You've got to actually make sure you do as well. And that's part of this, strategy. When we go in and we brainstorm this, we workshop that with our clients, we ask, what's your wish list? What are your wants and needs? What are some of the things that you want to achieve? And we just go and put it up on a whiteboard. We love doing a SWOT analysis, which is talking about, company strengths, weaknesses, opportunities and threats. And that, again, just brings out so much information. And I'm just going to, you love doing them, Scott. So, SWOT analysis, how do you value them?
Oh, very highly. I think they're one of the most important parts of this process, but also just on a regular time frame to engage with it could even be the leadership team or everyone in the business, because you'd be amazed when you have some internal SWOT sort of analysis sessions, some gold nuggets that come out from all different people. So what I strongly suggest and do with my clients is, let's just not get the feedback from the management team. Let's get feedback from everyone in the team, because it could be, for example, someone in the warehouse comes up with just a great idea that could, again, make things more efficient. It's a great customer outcome. The salespeople might be, a good result for them, but you wouldn't know that unless you ask the question from everyone in your business to contribute to that process. So it's one of the things I love doing. I love doing a SWOT analysis with people, because the amount of great information that come out of that, and often the light bulb moments, you can look from the senior managers or owners in the business going, wow, what great ideas are coming out from it. So a key part of the process, Colin.
That's right. And it's real. You know what I mean? It's real stuff.
Yeah.
I think, and then when you do all of that, it helps, resetting and aligning your goals, making decisions. And we're all about timeline. So if we're going to come up with our wish list, you can't do everything at once. We go into companies, they go, oh, I want to create change, I want to do this. We say it takes, you can make a bit of a movement in 6, 12, but you really start to see things kick in around that 12 to 18 month mark. And then it coasts into the 24 months. And then, what we say is, have a 2-year plan with a 3-year vision, and then redo it every 2 years. It helps make good, better, and tough decisions. So, again, sometimes, when you do those SWOT analysis, or you're doing this, like, we know we've got a problem over this part of the business, and we never address it. But we know that when we go and look at our strategy, we can't move forward unless we address it. And if it's bad behavior, or that's a common thing that happens, or we've used this software, and we've always used this software, and no one wants to change, but they don't see the benefits of actually changing. And we did that. I did one of those at the end of last year, where everything's paper based and they want to digitalize it. So there's a bit of pushback. So again, we've got to think about supporting that change and the reasons why we need to change to become more efficient. And then again, I think it's motivating for the leaders and the team to see that we've got structure and strategy. And I think for a person who is an owner of a business, or a manager of a business, or a senior leader of a business, it really puts you in the framework of a positive mindset. Scott, we know every time we do one of these with our clients, they are just in such a positive mindset. They're not the grumpy bum. They're positive. They're like, right, let's go, let's do it, let's make it all happen. And I think it's really, really important. Yeah. So again,
Definitely.
it's all about keeping it real.
Yep.
I might get you to take us through the the financial side of the business, Scotty, of financial sustainability. If you can take us through this slide, yeah.
Yeah, such an important part, of course. To keep the eye on the ball in terms of your financials, and more importantly, to have a budget in place. That's another thing that links in with this process, is always to have a good solid budget outcome that you're working towards. And that's identifying revenue streams. Like I mentioned before, what we've always done in the past, is that going to be the way forward? Can we look at other ways? Could we do some +1 add-ons to increase some margin and some profit structure there? What is our pricing structure and margins? Have a look at what are our competitors doing. The margins might have drifted, and you might be able to possibly increase your prices, still in line with if you've got some solid competition, but you're going to be making more profit from that. Tracking your cash flow is so important. If you could be selling lots of things, but if your clients aren't paying on time, or you keep a really close lens on that, there can be some pain that often comes from that as well. What we find, this next one's interesting, Colin, isn't it? The stock ordering. When we've been through this process with some clients, and you have a look at their stock holdings, and we're surprised, and bring to their attention possibly some dead and slow-moving stock that they've got there that is just wasting money, and they haven't had the focus to put onto that. So that's a really important one that we really push for everyone, is to keep an eye on your stock, and not just what you've currently got, but when you're placing orders, really to make sure you've got that scientific sort of approach to what you're ordering and why and how much. Trading terms, again, just links to your cash flow. Just to keep your eye on that, and have some processes in place that if people are drifting from their payments, that you're onto them to get that money coming in the door. Overdraft and finance loans, again, normally linked to a bit of probably your accountant process to just to see if you require that in your business, or if you've got some other capex that you're going to be looking to capital expenditure doing in the near or longer term. How's that going to be funded? Company expenses, can you review those? Every incremental, like if you can reduce cost by 1%, sometimes the difference to the bottom line can be significant. It's an interesting process, isn't it, Colin? Sometimes you just go, okay, let's just try and do a reduce expenses by 1%. And you hear 1%, what does that mean? But if you really just do the math on that, depending on the scale, it's all relative to the size of the business. But that could be tens of thousands of dollars just by having a focus on reducing some expenses in some way by a minimum of 1%. And then the ATO and superannuation, just commitments that obviously you've got running a business that you need to make sure that you've got the cash there, you're meeting your obligations, because they can come down pretty hard. And that's one group of people you don't want on your on the front door. And new premises and other investments, like I mentioned before, or could be equipment. If you've got sort of some things you want to do through this the strategy process, what is the capital going to look like? Have you currently got those funds, or have you got to go and source those funds to get to the next level that you're trying to get to?
Yeah, and as we said, we go into companies and they got excess stock, and then we go into other, and then what their key selling items are, they don't have enough of that, so it's sort of like it builds this framework. But if I can say, over our journey, what really probably surprises me the most is when we get involved with these type of strategic plans, especially with some of the smaller businesses. They don't have a budget. They don't have set KPIs around products and key items. And we do a lot of support in helping them. And that's, straight away, you can just see that positive mindset, the stress release from the owner, just getting them organized. So, I always talk about who holds you accountable. So, but if you're using companies like us, or you're using an accountant or a lawyer, how do you hold them accountable? How do they hold you accountable? It's got to be a win-win scenario. I think if we look at our service offerings, right, and well done, Scotty. If we look at our service offerings, we talked about before KPI mapping. So your product codes, what products are selling, what products are not selling, and then do we put some marketing behind that, or do we create a focus on that? If anyone's done any webinars with me before and any work with myself or Scott, you'll constantly hear us about customer insight, customer foresight. What do your customers want today? What do they want tomorrow? And then how do you look at your competitors and see what they're doing today? What might they do tomorrow? We all know what happened when Uber popped up and all of a sudden disrupted the taxi industry. So, when we do build these strategic plans, the thing that, we drive the most to the owners and the managers and the team is, how do you become the disruptor over your competitors? What does that look like? And that's what structure is all about. You want to review your current product range, and Scott spoke about that before. You identify, what are some new revenue streams or products or services, or any additional products or services that you could do. Look at your price structure and margin, so they all blend in with one another. Create better packages or bundles. So, again, like, I was in a business last week, we talked about, we've got this obsolescent stock. We'll just bundle a bit of that with some of your current stock and then see what happens, right? So, and I think, we come up with a great marketing idea. They've got shoes. So I said, send one shoe to a client and say, if you want the other shoe, you got to, have a meeting with us. Right? It was just a bit of a gag, but the team loved it. That was an idea. But again, that is about, well, how do I get rid of stock and how do we move it? A car park sale was another one. So over the years, we've had companies do a pop-up shop, get rid of some of their old stock. So which is only short term. And again, we've gone into companies where they've got themselves another warehouse where they've moved stock that doesn't sell into another warehouse, just collecting dust. If you think about it, you got to clear that obsolescent stock we just spoke about, and then, review current future revenue streams in having that competitive edge. So again, this is our, goes back to our why, and then what are our products and services complement on what we deliver. Now, you can have all this in place, but if you don't have the people and capability behind it, then that makes it really tough. And, we know that the last couple of years has been hard to find staff, but we also know that if companies have got good strategy, it's also a power of attraction as well. But when we talk about, that people and capability, these are the things that we do. You review the org chart. Is it still right for today? Do we have the right, roles and responsibilities in place? And, do we have clarity around them? What's our leadership capacity? Is everyone on the same page? What about the succession planning? So how do we, develop, future leaders coming through that can actually help grow the business? Get your recruitment induction process right. And again, people go through the traditional methods. What are some things you can do thinking outside the square? You must have policies and procedures, but as you know, people got to follow them. So there's no point of having them if people don't follow them. And then those performance conversations, I think, is a really, really big one. We see this year a lot where companies are investing heavily on training and development because it's been hard to do it over the past. And then, those staff engagement surveys, again, just gets really good insight information about how the company's performing. And then some team building activities, I think, is really, really important. Is there anything you want to add to this, Scott?
Hi, Colin. At the end of the day, staff are just such a critical part of any business. You can have the best products or services and a great brand, but if you haven't got the right team supporting that, then ultimately it's probably going to fail. To put the time and focus into your people and capability is just so important, because as we see, clients that we've worked with, and we've been able to do this process with them, and quickly they become an employer of choice. So it's hard to find great staff, but you want to retain obviously your current staff that you want to be on your team. But if you go through this process, then soon through word of mouth or whatever it may be, you'd be surprised about how you can become an employer of choice, because people know that you've got a great people sort of approach in your business, and there's real clarity of everyone on their roles and their engagement and the part they play in the bigger picture of the team. So it's just a really important part, and again, just something that we love doing, to go through and just make sure that the org chart is still solid and there's not some dead wood, if you like, in some areas that you might need moving forward, and you need to change and bring some new people in.
Yeah, and a bit of personality profiling, a bit of get to know your neighbour, which is and we design all of that for our clients. Just as we're going through this, I just want to point out that we practice what we preach. We have a strategic plan in our business. We get together every quarter. Next Monday, we've got a light breakfast. We've got a workshop just on our own company for 4 hours. Then we're going to finish off with a lunch, bit of a team building thing. Share some ideas, and get that kick in for 2024. We encourage our clients to do that, and it's just people look forward to it. They walk away, and the mindset is we're in the right place, we're going in the right direction. This is what it's all about. Okay, so Mohammed wanted to know more about lead generation. So sales and marketing, this is really my baby because I love it, right? So, but your website, newsletter and blogs, your social media. How do you build an engine room where you don't have to go and do the old door knocking up the street? How do we get more people that power of attraction? And that's all about how you showcase your business and your capabilities. So again, we use these methods of LinkedIn, and there's some tricks around LinkedIn. You've got to get the whole company to follow LinkedIn. I think is really, really important. That's a big thing. Your Facebook is showcasing what you do as a business, and Instagram, and for some businesses, TikTok is the next thing. So again, I'm not saying you go out and do TikTok or anything, but we're part of your strat plan is sitting back going, well, okay, what's working, what's not working, what could we try or experiment with to see what actually happens. There might be some other type of advertising initiatives. It could be going to a networking function or something like that, joining an association to get yourself out there. So, how do we update our flyers or brochures or make things happen where, and again, some people might think, well, that's a bit of old school, bit of hard copy, but it still works, it still happens. I always say marketing is not one thing. It's like baking a cake. The more ingredients you put into it, the more chances of it, things will stick. Might we look at, your quote or proposal templates, I think is important. And then, the big one for me, if anyone works with me, it's where are those case studies? Where are those testimonials and those Google reviews that actually shows your capability? And there's a little one I've put out there, a welcome pack. So, when customers come on board, how do we thank them for, becoming a new client of our business? And, how do we showcase the other products and services that we do? Because, I always ask this question to clients: what would you rather, sell more products and services to your existing clients or find new business? And the obvious answer is, well, it's easier to sell to our existing clients. So again, part of the strategic planning is reviewing, well, what other products and services can we add that's going to complement what we actually offer as a business? I really hope you got something out of that, and feel free if you want to ask some questions. And then we look at the better processes. So processes, you can have all this in the world again, but again, how do we address company efficiencies? And Scott, is there anything you want to add to this this slide here? Yeah.
Yeah, and as I mentioned, I think earlier on, sometimes this comes from just asking your team, anyone got any ideas on how we can improve some of our processes? Because some people might have done their own research and come up with it could be a new computer program or whatever it may be that can make life easier for everyone. So just to get a bit of internal engagement, but then also just to look out and just do some research, keep an idea, a view on the radar of things that might be in your industry that you've heard about. If you're part of an association, might be in a newsletter, then you think, okay, well, let's have a look at that, because any way that you can just make things a little bit more streamlined, in my opinion, there's lots of benefits there. Obviously, on the bottom line to the dollars, but also if it just makes life easier for your staff, and also the customer experience, then well and truly, it's always worth just checking in on your processes. Can we improve these at any time? And again, it's always about having that dedicated time to review what we currently do now. Can we do anything better?
I can give a live case study of this. We work with a client. We've been doing it now for the last 2 years. We're about to go back and go into that next phase, but part of the strat plan was to build a bigger warehouse so they could manufacture and construct things before they deliver to the client. So they used to do a little bit in the factory and then build the rest of it at the client's premises. Since they've gone and done this, their efficiency has gone through the roof. And their turnaround times of their clients are so much more faster. The clients are more happier, and the referral rate that they're getting is massive based on their capability. So that was a decision that was made 2 years ago. They actually finished this off towards the last quarter of last year, getting it right. And already you can see a massive growth, about 400% in sales of this particular, what they manufacture. So again, that was a brainstorming session, that was team commitment, and it's proof in the pudding that can actually happen. Now, ICT, so, IT. So we've got to think about, well, okay, we link our goals and objectives together, and it's part of our strategic plans. We want to create better processes. So now, do we have the technology to actually do it? So things that you might want to review is age of equipment, identify new equipment or hardware needed that's going to make it, the job a lot easier. New software initiatives, current software upgrades, like you might have a current product, but do we have the latest version of it? Is there other versions to actually make it happen? Better tools for trade. So that could be, how we showcase what we do, could be out there, for the technicians that are out there. What can we do to actually increase that productivity? And a big one for me is that increase that level of security. So cybersecurity is a big one. So again, a lot of people focus on that when something goes wrong, but how do we be proactive and make our efficiencies better? So all the above is about, better production, better output. What do we need to do? So we've got this great plan, but then how do we make it happen? During COVID, a lot of people work from home, and that now becomes the standard where people want to work from home as well. So again, we were thrown in the deep end where we had to make rush decisions. And but now, what does that look like? Do we make sure that all of our staff and everything got all the technology they need to be successful? Because again, that's what staff want, and companies want better output. So I think it's really, really important. Now, this is an interesting one, because when we have a conversation with customers, think about, well, growth strategy or merger or an acquisition. And, so, we ask the question, do you want to expand? Do you want to review or benchmark a company with some of your competitors? Maybe consider a merger. And sometimes, they've never thought about that, and think about, well, someone was to buy you out, maybe they might want to merge with you, if you put it out there to the universe of this is what you want to do. Or it could be an acquisition. And I can tell you, over the last couple of years, we've definitely worked with some clients where they've bought out some of their competitors, and created this strategy of, we own, this is our, if I use the word geospace, this is our territory, or this is where most of our customers come from. But if we were to go a little bit further, just out of reach of our territory where we're currently operating, and buy out one of our competitors, would that make the corridor stronger? So we've done that with a few clients, and that's just been part of their strategy. And there's no greater person to talk about that but you, Scott, because you did that in your business. You're in Shepparton, and then you moved to Echuca. That was part of your growth strategy. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely identifying new markets and about growing. But to get back to your point, one of the first questions I ask in my engagement with new clients, Colin, is where are you in what I call the stay, grow, or go phase. You know what I mean?
Mm.
It's a really important one to get into their brain or their mindset about, well, where are they in terms of that business journey? And then that can really gear up a lot of the foundations of the strategic planning process. And then, like you mentioned earlier, you could then go through that planning process and yeah, they're thinking about going, but hang on, now they're back re-engaged. They've got a lot more structure and things to focus on, goals and objectives. And that's another thing that we do. Then we come in on a monthly or bi-monthly basis and hold them accountable to make sure that they're meeting sort of some of those action steps and timelines. So it's just a really important question that I put to people is, they need to think about where are they in their business journey, and then we can link everything to that.
Yep, very good. And if we think about compliance and risk, like that's a big one, like it's about how do you build that redundancy in your business. So, that succession planning, that, you can go away on a holiday and the business still runs as if you weren't there. Look at some ways of minimizing risk. And again, that links back to your financial strategy and your compliance side of things. You want to make sure that people follow your company policies and procedures. So, in today's world, we live in what I call a legal battle. Like when something goes wrong or someone said the wrong thing or whatever, all of a sudden the lawyers get involved. How do we just have this proactive business where we're minimizing our risk? There are HRIR laws that you need to follow. There's WorkSafe laws you need to follow. You need to make sure you've got the right company insurances in place. This is a very, very simple one, and I've got it in here for a reason. Having a will in place, so you'd be surprised how many business owners run a business and don't have a will, right? So in the event that something goes wrong, all of a sudden it becomes turmoil and really tough for the others around there. So what's that plan? So you always, it's the old insurance policy. If I got it all in place, it won't happen. That's my theory. And then again, the accountability. So we hold people accountable. So we minimize our risk. And then you probably need to seek the right advice, whether it be an accountant or a lawyer or whatever. And I just put it out there. I always say, does your accountant work as hard as what you do for you? And if they don't, well, maybe maybe you need to work on that and change that. And I think the thing is building that resilience in your business. So again, if I've got really good compliance and risk in the business, then you're building resilience, which is going to protect your business. Okay, so we've gone through a fair whack now. So based on the topic that we just worked on, those 10 steps, what's in your thought process now? And if you could just throw a few things in the chat box, that'd be really, really important, because I want to make sure that we're on the right track of what we're going through today. So, is there any thought process of what Scott and I have just gone through? So if you can make that in the chat box, that would be absolutely fantastic. While you're doing that, I'm going to get on to the next topic, which is around understanding the profit drivers of your company. So again, this number 2 is not as long as number 1 because we want to get those foundations through. So don't be shy. Make sure you put something in the chat box and we'll continue on. So again, we talk about understanding the profit drivers of your business. So again, one of the things that I talk about when we go into companies, and Scott as well, when we address a team, we always ask this question around what is business acumen? And majority of people don't know. But the answer to the question is just knowing how a business makes money. So I think when we know how the business makes money, and we educate that with their team, and how everyone in the company has does their own input that generates the bottom line, I think you get a greater culture and a greater outcome. So Bobby, thanks for your little comment. Consider more efficient software for internal process flows. Absolutely, and we've been working with some clients on making that making it happen. And I love what you just said, Trish. Making a strategic plan more available. What we're showing you here. We actually, when we do a strategic plan, we go back and present that back to our clients with them, and just really engage with them to say we have a plan and this is what we want you to follow. So then all of a sudden the staff members go, well, this is working. But depending on what your industry is, and you can see I've got a variety of industries there, what is that plan of understanding what the drivers are? So what are those key profit drivers for the business? And then how do you focus on generating more profitable outcomes. So where do you put your time and resource and your energy that's going to happen? And I Scott and I spoke about obsolescent stock before. So when we go into a client, we see that they're going to focus more on the profitable items, and that's part of survival. But I've still got all this stuff back here. So how do I get rid of some of that obsolescent stock? And then how can you educate your team about driving more profitable results? Now, again, we go into companies and, there's a variety of businesses that are on this webinar, but, do you share the targets, the revenue targets you must achieve and the KPIs, so the product targets that you're trying to achieve? That's a big one. And we see a lot of companies that just don't do it. So again, the more you build that big picture to everyone, the more they have an understanding, and they understand, like, I can tell you that, in our business, Emma, who does our marketing, she knows that, like, we've got to go after this KPI. So let's put some ads out. Let's try and make that happen and create that power of attraction. It is all about, that team meeting and understanding. So I think, the key drivers, what is it? Sales, marketing, product, services, supply and demand, that production, that quick turnaround times for delivery, that client satisfaction. What I always ask customers, I said it before, repeat business, new business, what is it that actually creates revenue? And it is all the above. No one is better in an organization than anyone else. We're all part of a team, and that's how it makes it work. And if you think of the game of sport, whether it be netball or whether it be Formula One or the tennis, even the tennis, though, you've got players out there. There's a team behind those great tennis players that actually help them get those results. It's not just the tennis player. In football, there's a team that actually work together. The better they work together, the better the results they come. And you can just see, I'm not a Collingwood fan, but you can just see that the Magpies, just the mindset of what they did with their new coach, and in 2 years win a flag. That just goes to show what happens when you bring the whole team together and everyone is on the same page. Couldn't have asked for a better case study on that one. And I think, again, it's about how you share that. And I talked about that, driving those measurable outcomes. So I'm going to get Scotty to go through this slide for us, please.
Yeah, so this one, the key part of this slide is that top line. Yeah, you can't manage what you can't measure. That is so important to understand the facts in your business, and then not some fiction or what some people might be saying or doing. In my experience of the companies that I owned, they were heavily in sales businesses. So we had it in real time. We knew exactly every single team member that had their job was to sell. We knew what their performance on right to the minute. And it was just one of those really important, we had the systems and processes in place that we could track that. But it just then helps with having those conversations with them about if they're not quite reaching the performance goals that we expect of them. But then from a business, that's just one example, but that's across all parts of your business, to make sure that you've really got processes or things in place that you can be tracking the key financials or performance drivers. If it's about, new customer visits, okay, how are we tracking that? Have we got a CRM system that is giving me that data that I can be watching that and knowing that we're doing the doing? So, and yeah, KPIs, and that's key performance indicators. Just really important to get down to the granular detail across all different roles about what are the key things that we want people to be doing, and then we've got things in place that we're tracking that in real-time basis.
I think, look, when we look at stats, like if you look at tennis, you see unforced errors, and all the above, so, the old saying, we set those KPI targets and, on what makes your company money, and educate the team, right? And that's about the business acumen that I spoke about before. Drive. This is how it is. So, I just think that, what's the word? Businesses need to be more open and transparent about how the business is performing. And we know if the businesses are not hitting revenue targets, then a motivated team is going to try and help change that. And I think that's what's really important. So I hope you got a lot out of that section. The next one's around better ways to communicate your goals and objectives. So again, we've got our strat plan, and that's the whole purpose of this webinar. But staff engagement is everything. So again, we bring the team together to collaborate. We engage and share your vision with the team. You present the key items of your strategic plans. You don't have to show them all, but they're just the high level stuff. Do a bit of brainstorming with that. I did this for a client in last week in Adelaide. I know Scott's about to go and do one up there in the Sunshine Coast in the next 2 weeks. This is all about, getting that, ask for the feedback, get their commitment, set the goals, explain, this is what we're going to do in 3 months, this is what we're going to do in 6 months, this is what we're going to do in 12 months. The case study I had before, there were delays, permits and stuff like that for the warehouse. They got delayed by 6 months, but they still kept that communication going about what was happening in that business. And now the place is just, it's on fire. You want to focus on, the productivity and building those solid outcomes, and be open and honest on your company's performance regular. And again, focus on the gap. So if you miss a target, well, okay, why do we miss the target? What could we do to bridge that gap? Are we having the conversations to our clients about this target? Are we marketing to try and bridge that gap at the target? That's the whole reasons why we have budgets and targets set up in the first place. And then that big one, celebrate the wins, and that through recognition and praise. So when we actually are achieving or bridging a gap or overachieving, what does success look like, and how do you do that? So this communication process is a very, very big one, right? And again, there's multiple ways you can communicate. So as it says, team meetings, workshops, one-on-one conversations. I think we don't do enough of them. Reporting through systems, internal platforms, live reporting. Well, Scotty just spoke about that before. Some companies have, WhatsApp, and they're messaging one another. But, for me, it's not about, the cat or the dog or what happened on the weekend. It's about business, right? That's what we're going to make sure, want us to keep business things business, and then the social stuff, maybe use another platform for that. We do a whip every Friday, a weekly update of how we're performing. So that sets it up for the Monday. Maybe a notice board. So some companies have a notice board, they put it up. It's amazing, how many times we go in a company and they're recruiting for somebody and people find out later. They don't know, right? And we just, one particular client, we put it up on a notice board first. We're about to recruit for somebody for this position. Do you know anyone? And then a staff member with transferable skills wanted to go and take the job. So again, that's just little things like that are small wins. You might have a news bulletin. You might want to put it out in a memo format. Whatever suits the business. I think that's what's important. And some work that I did with a young person last week. He said, "How should I structure my meetings?" And I said to him, on Monday, which is today, run a team meeting and ask your team, what would they like to get out of a meeting? What do you think some of the things we should be focusing on? And then build your agenda around that. Think about this. What does success look like for you? What does it look like for your team? And I think that's a really good methodology. So, I'll get you back, Scotty. I might get you to go through this one here. But, creating that positive change, I think, is really, really important. So if you want to take us through this, that'd be great.
Yep, for sure. Change is often, it's needed, but it can be challenging sometimes. So the key parts of that is always about, again, it links back to the communication that we spoke about just before, Colin, doesn't it? Just the real clarity, and keep the communication open, and everyone on the same page. That's one of the most important parts of when you're going through a bit of change. People get confused. They're thinking, how is that going to possibly impact me? Then the best way we see, and that we work and coach with our businesses, is it's about being on the front foot, just being upfront and honest about what we're going to be doing, and again the what, why, how, and just keep that communication ongoing. And that's in all different formats. Celebrate the milestones as we're going along the path and we achieve things. Let the whole team know. So. That's a win that everyone can celebrate. Give recognition and praise to your staff. Managing staff can be challenging. We've got to do both the good and the bad. Deal with those, and we're going to have processes in place where we need to have a performance discussion. But it's just as important, even more important, to give the R+ for people that are doing the right thing or going over and above, to really highlight them and give them the praise that they deserve. And team building activities, can't emphasize those enough. And they don't have to be big things. Sometimes they can just be, at a quarterly session, just a bit of a fun game or things, just a different level of engagement than just normal day-to-day working together. They can just bring the relationships a bit closer. So these, again, are just some ideas that Colin and I work with different businesses and identify and recommend what can work best for them and their team.
Yeah, absolutely. Do something special, as we say. Do something that sets the tone of where you want to go. So and look, it's depending on the size of the business, but we've got a business that actually is going to take the team to one destination and run a conference for 2 days on how do we improve. So based on this webinar, and what's on your to-do list now? I know you've got a fair bit there now, but is there anything that you sort of like, well, okay, I know if I do this now, this is going to take us to the next level. And again, feel free to put in the chat box. Or if you want to have an open conversation, I'm more than happy if you want to ask us any questions. So, so if you want to have a conversation, just raise your hand or put it up, let us know, and I'll let you I'll let you ask us a question. Why not? So, but I think we know this works. If I can say it, we know this works. We know if you raise the bar, you get the strategy right, people get engaged, and if people don't get engaged, then the process is, well, okay, we always say, what's the difference between good and great, right? And it's people. You can have a good business, but you're going to have a great business if you've got great people that are all on the same page and going in the right direction. So is there anything anyone wants to ask Scott or I a question? Feel free to put it in the question box. And yeah, we're more than happy to help. While you're doing that, if you love what we've done, there's some free downloads off our website that you can download. And you can, want to learn more about a strategic plan. We've pretty much gone through what you would download, but if you want it in hard copy, then absolutely go and grab it. You want to learn about how can I benchmark more team satisfaction, then absolutely, there's some information there. And then the big one is that change management. Now, change management could be seen as a positive light, not just a negative light, right? So again, if we've got a strat plan and we know that we need to make changes, then, and it's communicated and the reasons why we do it, then, that also, we can assist with that. Okay, thank you very much for downloads. Just about to ask, could I revisit these downloads? Would be great. Absolutely. And so for Trish, by all means, this webinar will be actually, a copy of it will be put on our website by this time tomorrow. And if you feel free to go to our website, feel free to get in contact with us, have a chat with myself or Scott. We're just here to help. And I guess, hopefully what's come out of this webinar is you've seen us very passionate about what we do, because we just love what we do and we know it works. And again, if you like this webinar, next webinar we're going to do, this year we're going to do a webinar every second month. We want to make it an hour webinar. It's going to be 2 people within our team. We're going to bring an accountant in later down the track. So again, our next webinar is around driving great culture. So I think, what's important about that is you put a strat plan in place, but then how do you get the culture to follow to make sure that that happens? And, there's a little bit about our services, but again, you can see that on our website. And most importantly, we talked about Google reviews. So if you really loved the webinar that we've done, then if you hold your phone up, you should be able to get a QR code. It'll take you straight to our Google link, or you can just search us and then put in some feedback, because again, webinars we do them for free, and that's, if I can say it to some of the to you on the webinar, this is part of our sharing knowledge, but also a bit of lead generation for us as well. And we know it works, and it works very, very well, because good content produces good results. So based on that, thank you very much for your time today, and spread the word, and we look forward to helping you if you need us. Thanks very much. That concludes the webinar.
Thanks, everyone.
Beautiful.